I have been driving myself to near insanity for all these years, reviewing one shitty Final Fantasy game after another, and you know what's really crazy? I don't even know how this series survived past the second installment. Yeah, how did we even last long enough to get to the legend that was Final Fantasy VII when this series could have very well been shut down after Final Fantasy II? No, not that one! Okay, let's get this out of the way once and for all. The game that was ported onto the Super NES under the title of Final Fantasy II was actually Final Fantasy IV, just like the Super NES Final Fantasy III was really Final Fantasy VI. It took several more years before the actual Final Fantasies II, III, and V made it onto American shores. But hey, there's a good reason Final Fantasy II was not ported onto an American console until 2002. Because it sucks ass. Don't believe me? Well, prepare for another rage that's sure to piss off all the FF fanboys as we get into Final Fantasy II! Now, this game had to be surprising for a lot of people in that it was the first time to indicate that the Final Fantasy games would be completely separate from one another. Until they wouldn't be. Also, keep in mind I'm obviously using footage from the ports of this game that were released for American consoles, so of course you have to expect that the graphics here are probably better than what the original games overseas were like. The game starts out with a story that admittedly was probably unique at the time. It says how the Emperor of Palamecia has called forth monsters from the underworld to naturally take over the world.
Of course!
The Kingdom of Finn rebelled against the Emperor, but that didn't do so well against monsters from hell. Their castle fell to the Empire and they had to retreat to the town of Altair. Among those fleeing the town was a quartet of youths whose parents were killed by the Empire, and then... after slaughtering the entire party before you even get to input a command, giving a glimmer of hope that we won't have to play this game, the soldiers apparently choose to just take one member hostage and leave the rest to die in agony or possibly be rescued by members of the resistance. Yeah, I think someone's getting fired over that decision. You're brought to Altair and healed by Haji from Johnny Quest, who is the advisor to Brunhilde, who exposits that the Empire is constructing a mass weapon of destruction called the Death Star, the Dreadnought. At this point, you finally begin to control Firion, and you meet up with your other two siblings, Mariah, who looks like she wants to try out for Evanescence, and Guy, who thinks he's the Hulk. Your other brother, Leon, is missing, and while Brunhilde won't let you join her army of freedom fighters, she will let you go out on your own back to the occupied city of Finn to find your lost brother who was supposedly taken prisoner. Because she'll gladly let youths go out on their own into deadly situations as long as she doesn't have to take any responsibility. Jeez, even Lord British personally enlisted the aid of the goddamn Avatar! Now, I kid, but this had to have been one of the deepest storylines told in a console RPG at the time. The reason games like the first Final Fantasy could be lampooned in things like 8-bit theater is because those characters really didn't have any personality. This was one of the first games to give the player characters an in-game persona, and this game also debuted a lot of the elements that would become commonplace in the series, like NPCs joining your party, and the story itself, while it does sometimes look like it's ripping off a lot of elements from other fictional works, still debuted a lot of things that would become common for the franchise, including the character development of both PCs and NPCs and shocking twists in the plot. It's just too bad that all of that gets ruined by one of the most frustrating game engines ever put into an RPG! See, Final Fantasy II decided to completely revamp the gameplay system for video RPGs with this game, specifically with how your character's abilities increase. And there's a reason why no other RPG would use this system again up until... What the deal is, instead of gaining experience points for killing monsters and raising your level on those experience points, in this game you build skill points for every time you use your weapon. Every time you hit a monster, you get points in the skill for using that weapon and that weapon alone. What this ultimately means is that you'd better not think of ever switching the type of weapon you use in the game, because if you've spent the first part of it using a sword and then decide you want something different and switch to an axe, well, you're gonna be rendered a complete invalid. Now, for what it's worth, this isn't that hard to deal with once you get used to it. I mean, all you have to do is have each character stick to one type of weapon and upgrade that specific type of weapon for each character, and you'll be in okay shape. The real area that will make you want to throw the cartridge against a wall is when this same system of skill point building applies to spell casting. You still buy spells originally like you did in Final Fantasy I, but here you can't buy the next level of any spell anywhere. You only get the next level spell when you have built up enough experience in using that particular spell. So if you want Fire 2 or Cure 2, you have to keep using those spells in order to improve to the next level. And I think a lot of you have already figured out the one major reason this is the most frustrating thing of all. See, one of the most basic strategies in most video RPGs, especially early in the game, is to stock up on heal potions and use them as often as possible in order to preserve your magic points for when you really need them. But if you do that in this game, you'll never get your cure magic up to the next level, so when you meet up with stronger monsters and have to heal more hit points more quickly, well, you're just fucked! So you actually have to keep using spells and subsequently using up magic points in order to get the stronger spells. And also, consuming magic points is the only way to raise your maximum MP. Just like getting hit and losing hit points is the way you increase your maximum HP. No, really, this is really a thing in the game. It's only by getting hurt that you build up the ability to take more hits. Who the fuck kind of sadomasochist thought up this idea? And that would be bad enough if it wasn't also for how they changed how the inns work in this game. None of the inns here charge flat rates. They charge you based on the total number of hit points and magic points you need to recover. So if you show up to an inn having taken a whole buttload of damage out of crawling through the last dungeon, and you don't have enough gil on you to pay the fee the innkeeper is charging you for the massive amount of points you need to recover, well, good luck with that, bitch! This whole system greatly increases the amount of work you have to do in order to build up your players' levels. When you have magic spells like fire and ice, you need to use them in battle in order to increase their level. But that means you're using up turns casting those spells instead of attacking monsters with direct hits, which you have to do in order to build up your combat skill level. So this game has essentially doubled the amount of level grinding you have to do because you have to split time building up your combat and magic levels separately. And then, oh dear God, the dungeons. Whoever designed these things seriously did not like humanity. There are several trap rooms in each dungeon, or as I like to call them, butt-fuck rooms. You'll see multiple doors in one place, and one of those doors takes you to the next place in the dungeon. But if you pick the wrong door, you'll just end up in the middle of one empty room. And then as you head back to the door to get out, you find out you interrupted some type of monster orgy because you encounter a fight with every single step you take. One step and you're attacked by a whole group of monsters. Find a way to finish them off, take another step, and you've got a whole new group of monsters to finish. 2, 3 times before you finally mercifully get out the door. But hey, at least this means there are plenty of monsters for you to attack for direct hits or attack with spells to build up your magic points. And obviously you're gonna take a whole shitload of hits, so you're building up your maximum hit points as well. And if you find some way to survive all these encounters, you'll hopefully acquire a whole shit ton of gil, which you'll need till you find a way to survive and make it all the way to the next town, where the money-grubbing innkeeper will take one look at your deteriorating condition and suddenly jack up the rates of one of the rooms in his place! Like some asshole running a gas station who keeps his news feed on all the time so he can jack up his gas prices just seconds after he hears some member of OPEC was offended by something President Obama said, and God, I hate this fucking game! It's It's like Square personally looks at the things about RPGs that people are most frustrated about and says, that is what the game should be the focus of. I mean, for fuck's sake, did we get the greatness of Final Fantasies 4, 6, and 7 just by accident? Why the fuck does this keep happening to me? Guy smash! Oh, bad move, motherfucker. Prepare to join Titus in hell! Ah! Ah! Oh, what am I doing? I have no experience using this thing! Where's my gun blade? Oh, kid, you're here! Perkins, I found him! Get locked on and initiate the retrieval process! What the frack happened? You were bouncing around across dimensions. Once we were able to secure the portal, we were able to track you down and retrieve you. Everything seems to be back to normal now. Well, that's nice to hear. Well, I guess if that's out of the way, first things first, our portal! What the hell even? Some things should not be meddled in. What do? Trying to turn this place into the freaking Technodrome? So what the frack's been going on anyway? Well, reportedly Disney and ABC are gonna bring back the Muppet Show. Woohoo! Oh, and your next review is on the 5th season of Glee. Woo-hoo!